Hello, hello. What's up? Guys ready to get down? I'm kind of tired, so I'm going to knock some of this out. See what we've got here. Got the introduction. Ready to do the introduction and the first chapter to the ugly truth about the ADL. And you guys can watch it on a replay. That's fine. Because the room is kind of empty up in here. That's alright with me. Be right back. I'm going to get a drink of water. Alrighty then. It's time to get busy. Hola. What do you say, Truth Bites? If you want to grab somebody, get a couple people in the room, that'd be awesome. I'll hang out, wait a few minutes. Hey, Ray. What's happening? What's happening? Guys, remember that, what was that movie, 16 Candles, back in the day? What's happening? Hot stuff? Revealing my age. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea, Bruno. Hit like. I could go for that. A little couple likes here and there. We got 4 people. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Should I give it a minute? Hit 1 if I should wait about 2 or 3 minutes, and hit 2 if you want me to just get busy. So I put up my link to the source text. This is the source text right there. Alright, so far they're saying, just hang out just a minute. They live and they are the Jews. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, put the sunglasses on and you can see what's up, right? The sunglasses are a good metaphor for knowledge. Once you get your knowledge on, then you can see things for what they truly are. Isn't that right? Mutilator. That's a pretty cool name. The Mutilator. Remind me not to bring you over for dinner. Mutilator. Hey, Ma. Yeah, I brought a friend over. Who is it? It's the Mutilator. And I'm all out of bubblegum. You guys could ask Bluntman. He was in the chat. I don't know. Maybe he's doing something. The best fight scene ever. That fight was like 5 minutes long. They beat the fucking piss out of each other. Rowdy Roddy Piper. Hell yeah. That was, Brother Man put those shades on though, didn't he? That's what's up. So, quick recap. I guess we could just do a recap and then we'll get started. I'm chomping at the bit here a little bit. So, hey. Two Wheel Schmeal's channel. We're ready to do Chapter 1, the introduction and Chapter 1 to the ugly truth about the ADL. Last night I was a little hyped up, so tonight I'm going to take it down just a notch. Let's go for a little recap. Basically man, that was a long first section. Basically just revealed all kinds of connections with spying and the ADL being interconnected with the FBI. And thanks, Bruno. I appreciate that. The ADL is basically like a wing of the government. It's like another agency of government. South African government ties. You had these 2 main players, Tom Gerrard and what was the other dude? I was calling him Bullocks. Yeah, Roy Bullock. So you got all kind of connections with Israeli Mossad, Freemasonry, of course, B'nai B'rith. Let's see. Spying even on their own people, spying on the Jews. Quick recap right here. The ATF. I wonder what were they calling the BATF? What was that now? The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms. It's the ATF. War that what was it? The White Aryan Resistance Group, who had for its leader was a guy who was agent provocateur. Just dirty tricks all around. A dilemma for the FBI. They couldn't charge anybody with anything at the ADL because the ADL would have revealed that they were tied up with them too. National probe, or local probe, national target. San Francisco Police Department got ahead. Oh yeah, that would be cool, man. Goku. That's a big ass book. One thing at a time. We'll try to finish what I'm on, and then we'll whatever we want to do. We can read anything. This is it's up to us. Whatever we want to do. FBI files on Nation of Islam. They got all kind of shit on people. The Dope Busters program, which they put a stop to. The ADL files, it tells what everything it revealed, which is like a list of the craziest shit you ever heard. Terrorism. The ADL is engaged in terrorism. Oh, I see Clinton's name. What do we got here? For the first official meeting with President Clinton, Yitzhak Rabin. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if it goes all the way up to there, too. All the way up the money trail. Let's see, Roy Bullock. Roy Bullock, remember, he said he was getting paid, but then they didn't have any records of pay because they were running the money through 17 different filters. What else did we have? Civil suits pending at the time of the writing of this book, or between the writings of the book, the first edition and this edition. And then the command structure. This I thought was important. That Bronfman name is huge. That is a big ass name. Look at my man Klutznick over there chilling with his shades. He's just chilling, right? Unassuming looking dude. Probably one of the biggest gangsters you've ever seen. Howard Metzenbaum. This is the crew. What's up, brother? Hey, Elliot. Yeah, I'm ready to do it. I'm fucking tired, but you know what? Once I get going, I'll be just fine. This was what blew me away, is all the money. These are the major donors for the ADL. Let's run over that real quick. Mellon Bank, Merrill Lynch. Let's see, any of those names look familiar to anyone in there? I don't know any of these people. Kluge, Lazarus, Loeb. If you see in the second row, the third person, the name Loeb, that is a big-time banking family. Kuhn Loeb Company. Yes, they are everywhere for being such a minority. They are overrepresented. Good for them, bad for us. But look at all these. Oh my God, Merrill Lynch, Mellon Bank, Seagram's, AT&T, Chase Manhattan, Shearson, American Express. Holy shit, starting at the bottom on the right. Citibank, GE, Irving Trust, Mutual Benefit, Sears Roebuck, the Taubman Corporation. Never heard of it. Oh, Salzburger from the New York Times. How'd we miss that last night? Salzburger. So look, you got big money behind this thing here. All right, here's who we're going to be talking about in the introduction. It's a quick intro. This guy throwing up his gang signs with that tick on his face. I don't know what that is, man, but I would take an X-Acto knife to that shit. Let's see. His name is Canon Edward N. West of the Episcopal Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City. A canon is just a position in the church. Let's see. We got 9. That's okay. I didn't even expect that many, to be honest. Seagram's was caught up in that Hollywood sex cult. I don't know. I don't know, man. You know, educate me on that shit. Oh, you're talking about the Nexium thing. I'm sure that's got tentacles all over the place. Is that right, Goku? You're talking about the Nexium gig? Oh, we must have a little bit of a delay. Okay, so we've got right here the Canon spills the beans. The Canon is this dude here throwing up gang signs. Yeah, he doesn't look like he's up to no good, does he? Look at him. Dirty. And clean up that desk, man. What the fuck is going on over there, bro? Who's the guy in the glasses talking to him? I don't know. Oh, yeah. Okay. Nexium. Yeah, dude. Clean that desk up. What the fuck? What kind of shit is that? Looks like Satan. Yeah. No doubt. Alright. Do you guys got anybody coming, or should we jump right in? Number 1, we jump right in. Click it or ticket. Or number 2, you got somebody coming. A dirty hoarder. He's going to be on that show. Alright, let's do it. Let's do it. It was December the 9th, 1978. The cold New York City winter was made worse by the damp and spooky setting in which the two undercover investigators found themselves. They were sitting in the cavernous basement study of the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, interviewing Satan, Canon Edward West, a senior officer, or senior official, rather, of, see that? I get lost when I go to check the chat. A senior official of the secretive Sovereign Military and Hospitaller Order of the St. John of Jerusalem Knights of Malta. Now, you guys have, there's plenty of people in the Knights of Malta, and they're all in our government. They had come to ask the canon about Lyndon LaRouche, the by then well-known economist and political figure who had been the recent target of an assassination threat by the Order and some of its agents, including Manhattan District Attorney Robert Morgenthau. So Lyndon LaRouche is, the Knights of Malta are going to try to kill his ass. Details of the threat had been published in a 30-page report issued by LaRouche's associates earlier in the year, and LaRouche's U.S. Labor Party had more recently issued a book-length expose of the international drug trade highlighting Britain's role in a new opium war directed against the United States. Now, this is early 90s, but this right here is taking place in 1978. So that's where we are, 1978, December, after Vietnam, and the country was just flooded with heroin. Okay. Britain's trying to launch an opium war against the United States. As a top official of the Protestant Episcopal Church in America, and as a leading Knight of Malta, Canon West was well aware of the LaRouche commissioned exposés. After a half hour of chatter about other... That comma fucked me up. It's not supposed to be there. After a half hour of chatter about other subjects, interviewed by a brief photo session memorializing the interview, the investigators brought the discussion around to LaRouche and the potential problems he and his organization posed to the Anglo-American establishment and their secret societies. By the way, Anglo-American Establishment is a great book by Carroll Quigley. You guys know he wrote Tragedy and Hope, right? The Anglo-American Establishment. Let me just, I'm going to get you guys a link right for a second, because that one is amazing. Uh-huh. There you are. There it is, Carroll Quigley. Let me get you a link. This read right here, it will blow you away. Maybe we'll get to this one of these years. Alright. There you go. Okay. The Canon's response to the inquisitive visitors startled them. In a cold, ruthless tone, the Canon stated confidently, quote, "We will not get directly involved. We will have our Jewish friends at the Anti-Defamation League deal with Mr. LaRouche and his organization," unquote. Canon West's threat proved prophetic. Already during the summer of 1978, the ADL, in league with the British Fabian Society sponsored Heritage Foundation, had published a broadside attack against Linda LaRouche as an anti-Semite. Everybody's an anti-Semite, even Natalie Portman, according to Israel. The ADL was well aware of LaRouche's efforts beginning in 1975 to bring about a peaceful solution to the Middle East crisis by designing and lobbying internationally for a regional economic development program that would improve the lives of Jews and Arabs alike. LaRouche had traveled to Baghdad, Iraq, and had also conferred with senior Israeli government officials about his peace plan. The ADL knew that the characterization of LaRouche as an anti-Semite was absurdly libelous. Libel is just saying untrue, hurtful things about people. Nevertheless, the ADL's campaign to smear and eventually destroy LaRouche and his movement escalated dramatically over the winter of 1979 and 1978 to 79, and has continued ever since at a cost of tens of millions of dollars. Yep, I got you. Got you, Elliot. Last night, someone in the chat mentioned LaRouche has some good speeches, and I've seen them. I have seen them, and that's true. The bizarre reference to the nominally Jewish civil rights group by Episcopal Canon West, with his pivotal role in the secret British Freemason... oh boy. I'm going to chew my own tongue tonight by the end of the night. The bizarre reference to the nominally Jewish civil rights group by Episcopal Canon West, with his pivotal role in the secret British Freemasonic movement in America, naturally prompted a more serious inquiry by LaRouche's associates into the ADL, especially following the sudden burst of ADL venom during the summer of 1978. Freemasonry, baby! Well, that's a nice definition. Freemasonry is apparently Freemasons. Alright. What that investigation revealed was as shocking as the initial comments by Canon West about quote-unquote our Jewish friends. Not only is the ADL emphatically not a Jewish civil rights lobby, the ADL and its parent agency, B'nai B'rith, have been, from their inception, arms of the British secret intelligence agencies and secret societies that are sworn enemies of the United States. That book I linked to you talks about that shit. Yeah, the Masons never did nothing. So, but you guys don't be deterred by that word British secret societies, because we know who runs the British secret societies. The City of London, not the London proper, but the square mile where all the corporations are, the single wealthiest quarter mile or single wealthiest square mile rather on the face of the earth. We know who's behind that, and the name is Rothschild. The B'nai B'rith and the ADL have used their nominal Jewishness to conceal their actual allegiance and agenda. So, by name, they say they're Jewish, but we know that they're up to some other shit. The early history of B'nai B'rith is part of one of the ugliest chapters in the British-led Confederate secessionist insurrection against the Union in the 19th century. The ADL is more closely aligned with the racist KKK than with Judaism, more closely aligned with the murderous Medellin cocaine cartel than with any civic group. As the financial and political institutions of the United States have fallen deeper and deeper into the grip of illegal drug money, the visibility and power of the ADL has grown. Today, they are at the very center of the corruption of our most cherished institutions, our schools, our courts, and our elected officials. Man, it goes back to that first inception of the KKK back in the mid-1800s. This little book is by no means a comprehensive profile of the B'nai B'rith and the ADL. Such a serious history would require volumes. It is written in order to give you, the reader, a brief glimpse of the ugly truth about the ADL. They are a bunch of racist thugs who push drugs. Okay, chapter 1, there he is. You guys know who that is before I show the name? Any guesses in the chat who that is? His statue. Everybody talks about Confederate statues being pulled down, but nobody touched his. Ah, you got it. You got it. Pike it is. Pike it is. Let's take a look real quick. Little symbolism. Scottish Rite Freemason and KKK founder, Confederate General Albert Pike's statue in Washington, D.C.'s Judiciary Square. Is he throwing up any Freemason signs? What is that? He's chilling. He's like the original hippie. Looks like a fat Jesus. Anyway, I've read that book too. Oh, you think he's a Jew? Huh. Interesting. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, that book was amazing. Morals and Dogma. If you can get through all the esoteric, crazy shit. Like, one thing he talks about is that Satan and Lucifer are two different things. And people talk about Satan, generally Christians, they say, well, these Freemason types, they all worship Satan. As a matter of fact, Pike was making fun of you guys if you think that they worship Satan. He called you guys the profane, which means, well, let's look it up. Profane means, well, we know what it means as far as harsh language. But what's it mean in the second? Relating or devoted to, there you go. Relating or devoted to that which is not sacred or biblical. Secular rather than religious. Of a person or their behavior not respectful of orthodox religious practice. So he called you guys the profane. Lucifer is actually the planet Venus, believe it or not. The sun of the morning, the sun of the evening, it's called. It's called the light bearer. Is it he who brings the light? Doubt it not. Whereas Satan is an artificial, cartoonish caricature of evil, and Satan doesn't exist. But you can see Lucifer. I live on the shore, and if I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I go down to the beach, I can go and see Lucifer for myself. Lucifer is the planet Venus, and it is the second brightest thing in the night sky. Now, it's there right before the dawn. That's why it's called the sun of the morning. You know that story about Lucifer trying to be as powerful as God? Well, the ancient Illuminists, they saw the sun as God, and Lucifer was trying to be as powerful as God in terms of being as bright as God. But when the sun comes up, you can't see any stars or planets in the daytime. That's because God's light is too powerful. So, he got cast down to earth is the story. But we're really talking about the planet Venus. And if you guys have ever seen Venus's pentagram, let me see if I can show you that real quick. Just for shits and giggles. Okay, here you go. If you look from the point of view of Earth, the orbit, if you draw lines for when they connect, you'll see it comes out as a pentagram. Boom. So the pentagram has nothing to do with Satan. It's got to do with Lucifer, and the Lucifer is the planet Venus. A lot of people don't know this, and they use Lucifer and Satan interchangeably, but they are really just the profane, as Albert Pike taught me. I learned from the best. So now here's looking down. You see when the planets are opposite each other, you draw a line. Now they're putting the spots on there. There you go. Wow, and that's pretty cool. So when they sync up, it looks like, that's where you draw the line, like right there. And what do you get? Lo and behold, you get a pentagram. Right? Everybody thinks this pentagram is the symbol of evil. It is Satan himself. No, it's Lucifer, and it's got nothing to do with Satan. Okay, so thought I'd show you that. You like that? Thanks, Elliot. Yeah, it is really amazing stuff. I think the reason they've worshipped Venus so much is because if you watch the orbit of Venus around the sun, you can tell that the Earth is not the center of our solar system, whereas the church back in the days would always claim that the Earth is the center of the universe, and if you said anything against it, they'll burn you at the stake, like Giordano Bruno, who was he was Galileo's inspiration, actually. Galileo got put on house arrest for daring to suggest it. And so this information had to be hidden and secretive. And so they used little things like the pentagram to talk about their Lucifer, the light bearer, the one that taught them the truth. Get it now? Venus, you know. All right, so there you go. Interesting stuff. Okay, 150 years of perfidy. Perfidy is deceitfulness. Perfidy, you know I gotta go there because I'm a nerd. Perfidy, deceitfulness, untrustworthiness. Okay. April 14th, 1865, the day President Abraham Lincoln was shot, will live forever as a day of infamy for American patriots and lovers of freedom all over File World? What? All over the world, I'll say. But for the leadership of the Order of B'nai B'rith and its 20th century secret police arm, the Anti-Defamation League, April 14th, 1865, is a day that will be long remembered for a different reason. For a very different reason. I read that sentence all fucked up. But you guys let me slide, I know you will. The B'nai B'rith, a pivotal player in the British Freemasonic plot to destroy the Union, was implicated in Lincoln's assassination. Do you guys, Yep, Satan is just a cartoon. You guys heard of the Knights of the Golden Circle? I think that's got something to do with it. Let's, this might have a connect to B'nai B'rith. This was who John Wilkes Booth was a member of. So, Knights of the Golden Circle. There you go. You guys, I'm just going to give you the reference. We're not going to go through the whole thing here, but it's something you guys can check out. See, you can see the Confederate slave states and all that shit. So, let's see if they mention it here. The B'nai B'rith, a pivotal player in the British Freemasonic plot to destroy the Union, was implicated in Lincoln's assassination. That fact does not square very well with its long-cultivated but totally unwarranted reputation as a Jewish social service organization and a champion of civil rights. Civil rights. Okay, sure. For that reason, B'nai B'rith and the ADL have gone to great lengths to bury that history. Simon Wolfe was the Washington, D.C. lawyer for the Order of B'nai B'rith during the entire period of the U.S. Civil War. There's nothing civil about war. He would later head the International Order of B'nai B'rith for many years. In 1862, Wolfe was arrested by Lafayette C. Baker, the chief of detectives for the city of Washington, D.C., and later Lincoln's chief of the U.S. Secret Service, on charges that Wolf was involved in spying and blockade running on behalf of the Confederacy. Baker arrested Wolf, who was the attorney representing a number of Jews accused of spying for the South, on the grounds that he was part of a conspiratorial organization working on behalf of the secessionist cause behind the lines in the nation's capital. The conspiratorial organization named by Baker was the B'nai B'rith. Hello. Ding, 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 ding. Both Baker and U.S. General Ulysses S. Grant targeted the Order of B'nai B'rith as a Confederate spy agency. Upon taking command of the Western Front in 1862, General Grant issued Order Number 11. Handsome Truth did a video on that the other night, which expelled all Jews from the military district within 24 hours of its implementation. Ulysses S. Grant was no anti-Semite. He was reacting to the activities of B'nai B'rith and leading Confederates like Judah P. Benjamin. Judah P. Benjamin was a major heavyweight and a Rothschild operative agent. Lincoln, however, cognizant of the need to avoid blanket attacks against religious or ethnic groups, rescinded the order. Lincoln rescinded General Grant's order after the Jews put pressure on him. So there's just a little more to it. It wasn't that he just wanted to rescind it. A 1987 B'nai B'rith authorized biography of Simon Wolf by Esther L. Panitz offered the following highly suggestive, albeit incomplete, description of Wolf's personal relationship with President Lincoln's assassin, John Wilkes Booth. Bear in mind that this biography, written on the basis of B'nai B'rith's archives, paints Wolf in the most favorable of lights. The mere fact that the author had to include Wolf's links to Booth and Wolf's earlier arrest as an alleged Confederate spy and blockade runner implies that the actual story is far uglier. So remember, Wolf was this ADL or B'nai B'rith leader, isn't that right? Let's see, where's Wolf first mentioned? Simon Wolf was the Washington, D.C. lawyer for the Order of B'nai B'rith. Okay. During the whole Civil War. And then he later headed the B'nai B'rith in 1862. Okay. Quote, Wolf's concern for culture first expressed itself in the formation of a private club devoted to the arts and humanities and frequented by young men avid for learning. Were pride and ambition his only motives in seeking the intellectual life? Clearly, Wolf hoped that if he and his friends would devote themselves to the pursuit of learning, they would deflect the prejudicial statements of their Christian neighbors. Wolf was upset that terms such as money changers, cotton traders, and clothes dealers had become words of reproach. Yeah, and how about carpetbaggers? Continuing the quote, locally, the group's theatrical productions received a good press. Oh, wait, Wilkes Booth was an actor, wasn't he? Wolfe, who would often play the ghost in Hamlet or Shylock in The Merchant of Venice, Pound of Flesh, bore an uncanny resemblance to John Wilkes Booth, Lincoln's assassin. Uh-oh. Earlier in Cleveland, Booth had joined Wolfe and Peyato in dramatic performances. Years afterward, Wolfe remembered that he had met Booth once again at the Willard Hotel on the morning of the day Lincoln was shot. There, at the bar, Booth explained that Senator John P. Hale's daughter had just rejected his marriage proposal. Wolfe attributed Lincoln's murder to this personal tragedy in Booth's own life. Wolfe also recalled that once he sat for a picture entitled "The Assassination of President Lincoln," unquote, Whoa. So that was a quote from who wrote the book? John Wilkes. Esther L. Panitz. Okay, so it's an authorized biography of Simon Wolf by Esther L. Panitz. That long quote talking about how they resembled each other, and he sat for a picture called "The Assassination of President Lincoln." Whoa, that's creepy. In his own book, Presidents I Have Known, Wolf says that he and his longtime acquaintance John Wilkes Booth did some drinking together at the Willard Hotel on the day Booth shot Lincoln. Wolf's and a second leading B'nai B'rith figure, Benjamin Pejato's, dealings with John Wilkes Booth were hardly cultural. Okay. Nor could Wolf have possibly believed that Abraham Lincoln was killed became of... Oh, I see. Pardon me. Nor could Wolf have possibly believed that Abraham Lincoln was killed became of John Wilkes Booth's unrequited love affair. So he's saying he doesn't buy it. He doesn't buy that he shot the president just because some girl did him dirty. Even John Hinckley, the would-be assassin of President Ronald Reagan, was declared insane when he tried to peddle the line that he had tried to kill Ronald Reagan due to an unfulfilled fantasy love affair with actress Jodie Foster. Yeah, I remember that shit. To understand the circumstances under which B'nai B'rith's Washington, D.C. leader and one of its founding members were circumstantially tied to the Lincoln assassination conspiracy and explicitly linked to the secessionist insurrection against the Union, it is necessary to look briefly at the circumstances under which the Order of B'nai B'rith was founded in 1843. So how about that? It's already getting worse for the ADL. Its parent group, B'nai B'rith, has implications involving it in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. And they are an arm of British intelligence, run by Rothschild. Britain's reconquest dream. Following the American Revolution, the British monarchy and its East India Company colonist apparatus never for a moment abandoned their commitment to reconquer the lost colonies in North America. Although the military effort at reconquest in the War of 1812 foiled other efforts to seed the United States with British agents, some drawn from the ranks of anti-Republican Tories who were permitted to retain their citizenship and property in America under the terms of the Treaty of Paris in 1783, were more successful. So they're trying to seed the United States or plant these agents in the United States. In 1801, the Tory faction of U.S. Freemasonry, the grouping of Freemasons who had sided with England during the American Revolution, or the notorious Loyalists, opened up shop as the, quote, Grand Council of the Princes of Jerusalem, of the Mother Supreme Council of the Knights Commander of the House of the Temple of Solomon of the 33rd degree of the ancient and accepted order of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in the United States. Jesus Christ. Do they have to say that every time they show up to a meeting? Oh, what a mouthful. Grand Council of the Princes of Jerusalem. Yay. So hey, maybe there is this Jewish connection here. Let's find out. This U.S.-based British Freemasonic Lodge was chartered in Charleston, South Carolina. The members of this British-led secret society would direct the Confederate secessionist insurrection a half-century later. Other Scottish Rite members would be among the founders of the B'nai B'rith. Well, what's up with the hyphen? See, they keep hitting me with the head fake. Other Scottish Rite members would be among the founders of the B'nai B'rith. They, too, would be leading Confederates. Wow. So you got them on both sides, it seems. Apart from the esoteric mission of spreading an explicitly anti-Christian form of Roman pagan worship and occultism among the early generations of American citizens, the Charleston Lodge also sought to build up a network of pro-British merchants, spies, and politicians in both the North and the South, just like my suspicion, who would one day play a pivotal role in the Reconquest. Many of these early Masons became wealthy through their business dealings with the British East India Company and the Dutch West India Company in both the cotton and slave trade. And yes, there are implications with Rothschild and cotton and slavery. Among the founding members of the Charleston Scottish Rite Lodge were many prominent Jews, including Isaac da Costa, there we go, here come the Jews, Moses Cohen, Israel de Lieben, Dr. Isaac Held, Moses Levy, and Moses Pejato. Now, some of you might say, well, what the hell's that Spanish name doing in there? In 1492, you had a bunch of Sephardic Jews who primarily were from Spain and Portugal, North Africa, under Muslim rule. When Ferdinand and Isabella, took their reconquest back and took Spain back, they booted the Jews out. And at that time, they were called Marranos, which is another word for crypto Jews. And many of them had Spanish names. It's like, who was that leading guy with the slave boats? Aaron Lopez. You would hear the name Aaron Lopez, no one would think a Jew. But he was actually a Sephardic Jew and a very rich and prominent Jew. And I think he owned more slave ships than anyone else, but don't quote me on that. Many of these men were Sephardic Jews. Oh, see, there you go. Were Sephardic Jews from North Africa or from Spain who had originally settled in the Caribbean and engaged in the early slave trade. These Jewish Masons set up other organizations which also maintain active liaison to Great Britain's powerful Jewish community. The Hebrew Orphan Aid Society was one such nominally benign group that would produce one of the most rabid secessionist leaders, Judah P. Benjamin. Although today, any reports of the Freemasonic roots and structure of the B'nai B'rith are usually greeted with a torrent of allegations of anti-Semitism. Back in the formative years, B'nai B'rith's own magazine, The Menorah, offered the following information about the founders of the group. So if you guys say, oh, guess what? B'nai B'rith was wrapped up in the secessionist movement, and they were up to these dirty tricks, and they call you an anti-Semite, well, you could just pull up their magazine, The Menorah, and read the following. Quote, their reunions were frequent, and several of them being members of existing benevolent societies, especially the Order of Freemasons and Odd Fellows, they finally concluded that a somewhat similar organization, but based upon the Jewish idea, would best obtain their object or their desire. The Jewish religion has many observances and customs corresponding to the secret societies known to us. The synagogue, for instance, might be compared to a lodge room. It used to be open twice a day. For a Jew desiring to find a friend, they had but to go there and make themselves known by a certain sign and token. The sign consisted of a grip with a full hand and the magical word Sholem Aleichem. The masusa on the doorpost was the countersign. The masusa is that little thing you see angled on the doorpost. Inside they have little scrolls, and it's a prayer. It says, Shema Israel, hear, O Israel, was the password. Okay. By the way, just a quick note. When you see, when you see those little, those four dots, that ellipsis, that means there was something left out. There's something between the word token and the word the, which was left out where I guess the author thought it was unimportant. Just a little tip. Indeed, to this day, all local chapters of the B'nai B'rith, pardon me, I'm looking at my side. Indeed, to this day, all local chapters of the B'nai B'rith are referred to as lodges, a practice borrowed whole cloth from the Scottish Rite. When Moses saw some Jews of the B'nai B'rith type, who tried to make their religion into a pagan secret society, he, quote, took the calf which they had made, and burnt it in the fire, and ground it into powder. And Moses returned unto the Lord, and said, Oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and made them gods of gold. Well, it doesn't stop there. If you've ever read that Bible passage, they slaughtered them too. When he came down from the mountain and they were worshiping the golden calf, he ground the calf into dust. He made them eat it, and they slaughtered them. Moses and Aaron and his boys. So, the majority of Jews in America during the first generations following independence were opposed to the idea of a Jewish Freemasonic secret society, however. Thank you. Pardon me. Thus, Israel Joseph Benjamin, a noted European Jew, in his memoirs, 3 Years in America, 1859 to 1862, wrote of the B'nai B'rith that, quote-unquote, this is a secret society like the Freemasons, with passwords and the like, and was quite a new phenomenon for me. Still, I think the existence of such a society not at all necessary. You see, we've got ellipses again, so if you ever pull that quote up, there's more in between. He was right. The secret agenda of the B'nai B'rith, like that of the southern jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite, was to destroy the Union and pave the way for reconquest by Britain. Benjamin and Belmont. August Belmont. You guys ever heard of the Belmont Stakes? That was named after August Belmont, and he was a Rothschild agent, and so was Judah P. Benjamin. Two leading B'nai B'rith allied figures would serve as exemplars of the British strategy for permanently dividing the Union: Judah P. Benjamin and August Belmont. Benjamin, 1811 to 1884, was born in the British West Indies to Sephardic Jewish parents who moved to Charleston, South Carolina. In 1827, he was inducted into the Charleston Hebrew Orphan Aid Society, one of the precursors of the B'nai B'rith. After attending Yale College in New Haven, Connecticut, he was forced to drop out under a cloud of scandal. He started early. Benjamin surfaced in New Orleans, where he quickly won the patronage of John Slidell. Slidell, a U.S. Senator who would later play a pivotal role in the Confederacy, and sponsored the career of August Belmont, who married Slidell's daughter. Little couple connections. Did Slidell take him under his wing, or did Rothschild make him take him under his wing? Who knows? With Slidell's assistance, Benjamin became a prominent attorney, even serving for a period of time as the U.S. Attorney for New Orleans. Benjamin gained notoriety for covering up the growing terrorist activities, here it comes, of the Scottish Rite-sponsored Knights of the Golden Circle, while serving as the local federal prosecutor. In 1852, Benjamin was elected U.S. Senator, a post he retained until the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861, when he resigned to serve the Confederacy. Benjamin was the first Confederate Attorney General. He later served as Secretary of War and Secretary of State, ultimately running the Confederate Secret Service on behalf of Confederate President Jefferson Davis. Judah Benjamin escaped to England following the defeat of the Confederate secessionist plot. It was Benjamin's Confederate Secret Service which organized and supervised such figures in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln as John Wilkes Booth and his accomplice, John Surratt. Benjamin was charged with sedition for the Lincoln assassination, although he was never brought to trial due to his protected status in England. You start up all this shit over here, and then you go run, and you get immunity, diplomatic immunity. With the help of a leading Rothschild political asset in England, Baron Pollock, Benjamin continued his legal career in London. He never abandoned his commitment to subvert and destroy the American public, however. As a wealthy lawyer for the British merchant oligarchs, Judah Benjamin collaborated with other exiled Confederate and Masonic strategists in England, such as James D. Bullock and Robert Toombs. Benjamin's continuing preoccupation with defeating Reconstruction, which is the era after the Civil War, is indicated in letters he wrote back to the U.S. with complaints such as these. Quote, I have always looked with the utmost dread and distrust on the experiment of emancipation so suddenly enforced on the South by the event of the war. God knows how it will all end. The South is kept crushed under Negro rule. I can never consent to go to New Orleans and break my heart witnessing the rule of Negroes and carpetbaggers, and nothing is so abhorrent to me as radicalism which seeks to elevate the populace into the governing class. Unquote. Boy, that's a really aristocratic bent. God forbid the populace should have a say in their own governance. The Ku Klux Klan was founded in Tennessee in the late 1860s by the Southern Scottish Rite leadership under Albert Pike. So, wait a minute. My buddy Bluntman made a good point. Oh, we're tearing down statues now. We're all, Confederate flag, Confederate statues. But the guy who started the KKK, you're going to leave his shit up? Something ain't right there. Okay. Judah P. Benjamin's early role in sponsoring and protecting both the Knights of the Golden Circle and the KKK offers a crucial insight into the B'nai B'rith ADL's later role in fostering the revival of the KKK in the post-World War II period. We shall return to that sordid tale in a chapter later. Wait a minute, I beg to differ. The resurgence of the KKK was after World War I in the 1920s. Unless there was a third or a second resurgence of the KKK after World War II, I'm not aware of. But it was originally made in the 1860s, the KKK, by this guy, Albert Pike, and it was a tool for them to, do their crazy shit that they do. And it died out like in the late 1800s after the Civil War. But then in the 1920s, there was a huge resurgence of the KKK, and probably several presidents were part of the KKK. Another Rothschild and B'nai B'rith ally who enjoyed the political patronage of arch-Confederate John Slidell, August Belmont, was Judah Benjamin's northern counterpart. So you got one in the north and you got one in the south running game for you. And they're both working for the same people. A private secretary to the British House of Rothschild, who arrived in New York City from London in 1837, Belmont rose to the chairmanship of the Democratic Party, a position he held for 20 years. Belmont was a leading advocate of free trade and states' rights, both cornerstones of the British Reconquest scheme. Prior to his emergence as a leading figure in the National Democratic Party, Belmont worked closely with the Charleston, South Carolina B'nai B'rith in fomenting radicalism among America's youth. Fomenting means to stir up. Oh, there you go. Instigate or stir up an undesirable or violent sentiment. So foment, you don't stir up, some stew. That's a good thing. Only things that get fomented are bad things. It's got a negative connotation to it. The effort was, in this case, run directly by the Mother Lodge of the Scottish Rite in England, then under the command of Britain's Prime Minister, Lord Palmerston. At Belmont's behest, Charleston B'nai B'rith leader Edwin de Leon wrote a pamphlet in the early 1850s entitled The Position and Duties of Young America, period. De Leon, whose family were slave traders, B'nai B'rith founders, and later leading Confederates, peddled free trade and openly advocated a strong Anglo-American alliance. Again, check out that Anglo-American establishment by Carroll Quigley. While by today's standards the appeals for a strong Anglo-American alliance may seem palatable to some, back in the middle of the 19th century this was borderline treason, because we had broken away from England. There was a lot of hatred towards England, and probably the fact that we are now back to being allies with them is partly due to the propaganda guys like he fomented or put forth. Belmont's Young America members were among the draft rioters and radical abolitionists who disrupted Lincoln's Union war mobilization to the benefit of the Confederacy and England. During the early phase of the Civil War, England tried repeatedly to intervene into the conflict with ceasefire plans that would have ensured the permanent dissolution of the Union. Dissolution means to dissolve. You see the word dissolve right in there. During the Civil War itself, while the majority of American Jews sided with the North and fought valiantly to preserve the Union, the B'nai B'rith was predominantly pro-Confederate. Even in New York City, the lodges preached secession. They were trying to tear the country in half, where it could be divvied up amongst the Rothschild agents, like Judah Benjamin and August Belmont. They were already in place. They had a whole plan in place. But Lincoln saved the Union, apparently. The Baltimore Hebrew congregation, founded by Dutch Jews who made their money in the slave trade, heard sermons by Rabbi Morris Raffal like the following. Quote, "Who can blame our brethren of the South for their being inclined to secede from a society under whose government their ends cannot be attained, and whose union is kept together by heavy iron ties of violence and arbitrary force? Who can blame our brethren of the South for seceding from a society whose government cannot and will not protect property rights and privileges of a great portion of the Union?" Unquote. Following the Civil War and the assassination of President Lincoln, many of the Jewish slave and cotton traders from the South, typified by Lehman Brothers, moved to New York City and became prominent in Wall Street banking and stock brokerages. So look at this. Already, we've had the inception of the Wall Street, and who do you have? Lehman Brothers dealing in slaves and cotton. Unbelievable. Well, I should say it is believable. With the defeat of President Lincoln's Reconstruction program following his assassination, President Andrew Johnson pardoned the Scottish Rite insurrectionists, including General Albert Pike, and accepted a rank of 32nd degree, thank you very much, in the Southern Jurisdiction Freemasons. Suspected Lincoln assassination plotter Simon Wolfe, the guy who was the attorney for B'nai B'rith and then later leader of B'nai B'rith, was also absolved of any criminal culpability for his wartime activities. Absolved means you are forgiven, and culpability means your involvement in, or your, how do I explain it? Guilt. Let's just look it up. Culpability, responsible for a fault or a wrong, a blame. Where am I? I always lose my spot. There you go. The legacy of British Freemasonic treachery against the Union survived intact, including the B'nai B'rith. So we have Lincoln was assassinated. His plans for Reconstruction were done away with. Andrew Johnson became president. I guess he was the vice under Lincoln, I'm assuming. And he accepted a 32nd degree in Southern jurisdiction Freemasons by pardoning Albert Pike and getting rid of Lincoln's Reconstruction. Lincoln wanted to mend the nation. And Simon Wolfe was absolved of any criminal culpability. The legacy of British Freemasonic treachery against the Union survived intact, including the B'nai B'rith. You wonder what would have become of B'nai B'rith had Lincoln lived. Would he have gotten rid of them? Although the slave trade nominally was banned in the United States as a result of Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, a new form of slavery had already been launched by the British East India Company and its Scottish Rite directors, including the same Lord Palmerston who had played so pivotal a role in the secessionist insurrection. The new form of slavery was opium. Henry Carey, one of the architects of Abraham Lincoln's Reconstruction program and a leading proponent of the American system of political economy, warned about Britain's opium war against China and India in his 1853 book, The Slave Trade, Domestic and Foreign. He described the trade in, quote-unquote, that pernicious drug, opium, as, quote-unquote, one of perfect free trade. So what he's saying is, you want free trade? They're selling you free trade like it's this great thing. And look what you get. You get opium coming here and destroying your country. That's like NAFTA, the free trade agreement. It has done nothing but destroy our entire industrial base. It destroyed Mexico. If you're pissed about all the Mexicans pouring in here, which I am too, I don't mind legal immigrants so long as we can take them. I'd rather they be European personally, but, you know, if you like this country and you want to assimilate, that's okay. But the reason the Mexicans are pouring across the border is because the free trade of NAFTA destroyed Mexico's farm industry and put, like, a lot of people out of work, hundreds of thousands out of work. What it was is we have subsidized corn in the United States for cheap, and NAFTA allowed these corporations to take a whole bunch of corn and just dump it on the market down there for super cheap. The people, the locals in Mexico, couldn't compete, and everybody was put out of business by this fucking shitty fucking, you know, Frankencorn with you know, GMO, and it's subsidized. And this guy's saying, look what free trade gets you opium. So even in 1853, they were trying to warn us about free trade, so named deceptively to get people to go for it. Defeated in this secessionist insurrectionist plot, Britain and its fifth column of agents in both the North and the South would eventually regroup around a strategy for running an opium war against the United States. As the reader will learn in later chapters of this book, the B'nai B'rith and its Anti-Defamation League, quote-unquote secret lodge, would play a central role in that effort. All right, let's take a look at the chat here real quick. Every time there's a news conference with this. Yep. There's a bust of Pike in the Oval Office? What? Oh my God. Yeah, the carpetbaggers were Jews. Let's see here. Okay, bad boys. Got work in the morning. Have a good night, y'all. Okay, Goku. Deuces. GN8. Yes, the GN8. Isn't that group of 8 countries, I think? Is that what you're referring to? It's in pill form now, the red pill. Yup, their money is 10 times less than our dollar. Uh-huh. Okay. Let's get back to it. peddling slavery still today. Fast forward to 1992. In the nation's capital, where B'nai B'rith lawyer Simon Wolfe conspired on behalf of the southern slave trade, the streets in many parts of town are dominated now by drug traffickers whose deadly poison has inflicted both a subculture of addiction and violence and a spread of the AIDS virus among the predominantly black population. This is what I was telling you about Nation of Islam and their dope busters. D.C. was where they originally did it. Community-based efforts led by the Nation of Islam had begun to roll back that new subculture of slavery and despair, restoring safety and dignity to some of the most desperately poor neighborhoods in the United States. How ironic is that? The most desperately poor neighborhoods in the United States are right near the center of wealth of this country, Washington, D.C., who is its own corporation, but that's another story. True to its history, the B'nai B'rith ADL intercedes to turn back the clock to the days of slavery. First, the ADL set off a massive wave of anger and resentment in the African American community when, in June 1992, it published The Anti-Semitism of Black Demagogues and Extremists, a hit piece. Propaganda. The widely circulated ADL report is a frontal attack on the Nation of Islam and its leader, Minister Louis Farrakhan. It openly threatens retribution against any elected officials or political activists who associate with or publicly commend the Nation of Islam. So if you say anything good about the Nation of Islam and you're an elected official, they're coming after you. Is it any wonder Farrakhan hates Jews so much, how he rails against them? What came first, the hatred of Jews or the attacks on him by Jews? What came first, anti-Semitism and the kicking out of Jews in 100-plus countries in the history of Europe, or the meddling and the conspiring and the dealing and the back fucking stabbing and all kind of shit? What came first, the chicken or the egg? In July 1992, a major uproar developed in Washington, D.C. when the ADL was caught red-handed in an ugly attempt to shut down any government contact with what has been the only effective effort to clean up drug and crime-infested areas in the nation's capital, the Nation of Islam's now famous dope busters. When Washington, D.C. Mayor Sharon Pratt Kelly issued an official proclamation honoring the Nation of Islam, D.C. Mayor Sharon Pratt Kelly said, "Hey, this is awesome. They're cleaning shit up." Of Nation of Islam leader Dr. Abdul Alim Muhammad for his leadership in the Dope Busters campaign and for his groundbreaking work in treating AIDS patients with Imuviron, an African-developed anti-AIDS drug. The ADL went crazy. So the D.C. mayor said, "Hey, big ups on you, taking care of business, treating people for AIDS, cleaning up the streets." The ADL said, "What? We're trying to destroy these people with our drugs." Kelly was repeatedly hit with the ADL-organized delegations, demanding that the proclamation be rescinded lest she, too, be identified as an anti-Semite. When she refused, the ADL engaged in a national barrage of media attacks against the Nation of Islam. The attacks culminated in an article run in the Washington Times, co-authored by ADL National Director Abe Foxman, there he is, 666man, and fact-finding director Myra Myra Lansky-Boland. Ultimately, Kelly succumbed to ADL demands and issued an open letter to the community, in which she continued to praise Dr. Muhammad's work against drugs, violence, and AIDS, but condemned alleged anti-Semitic statements attributed to him by the ADL. So they put that machinery of the media to work, and they just squeezed her until she said uncle. But what was really at the heart of the Washington Times article, which was otherwise a potpourri of outrageous and unsubstantiated charges against the Nation of Islam, was a demand that Congress defeat the major appropriations bill for the Department of Housing and Urban Development under the question of whether HUD rules should permit a HUD contractor to hire the dope busters to provide security for a federally subsidized housing project in L.A. The ADL was particularly upset about the national attention the successful dope busters drug eradication program was getting. We can't have people picking themselves up and straightening things out. The dope busters were founded in Washington, D.C. in 1988. Since then, unarmed dope buster patrols, I mentioned that last night, no guns. Since then, unarmed dope buster patrols have been able to eradicate drug trafficking at the street level in 9 Washington ghetto neighborhoods and private housing projects. They have done so with no deaths and very little violence. So how do you take back the streets from thugs and violent gangsters? You got to be just as violent. You got to meet violence with violence. You don't ask them nicely, but they were connected with the police too, so they would beat the piss out of these drug dealers, and they wouldn't come back anymore. This is our streets. It wasn't just a chant like the left. On streets, on streets, on streets. No, they really took the streets back. They didn't just sit and talk about it. They have done so with no deaths and very little violence. But they did what they had to do, you know what I'm saying? Exemplary of the success of the program is the Mayfair Mansions housing complex in Northeast Washington. Mayfair Mansions went from an ugly, unsafe, open-air drug market in 1988 to being a handsomely restored, safe, vibrant community as a result of dope buster patrols. When HUD Secretary Jack Kemp visited Mayfair Mansions earlier this year, he admitted that the Nation of Islam's dope busters deserved the credit and indicated that he was open to granting the patrols federal government contracts. He fucked up. Now they're going to attack him. Tenants in public and private housing projects from New York to Baltimore to Los Angeles are demanding dope buster patrols. In most cases, the idea has the support of local police and government agencies who have failed to find any other effective way to curtail the intensifying pattern of drug trafficking and violence. In almost every case, the ADL has attempted to block the tenant's choice of security force. So they're like, you can't choose who you want to protect your streets. We'll tell you. They're stepping on our toes. We want to deal our drugs. How are we gonna deal drugs when you're getting rid of all the dealers? Tenant leaders who refuse to back down have been subjected to threats, harassment, break-ins, and other forms of intimidation. This time, however, the ADL may have committed a fatal error in launching such an open and vicious attack on the Nation of Islam. Dr. Abdul Alim Muhammad is not only a leader of the NOI, he is one of the most respected community leaders in the Washington area, and his pioneering work against AIDS is gaining him international recognition. The Black and Hispanic communities in the U.S. are disproportionately infected by the deadly virus, but have had almost no access to the accepted treatment, which consists of the prohibitively expensive and highly toxic AZT, DDI, or DDC. Mohammed and the New York City physician Dr. Barbara Justice have reported dramatic success in treating more than 600 patients who are HIV positive with Imuviron, the drug they brought back from Kenya. The pair is also credited with bringing vital information concerning this new treatment modality to the general public and the medical profession, taking the taking the point in a courageous effort to avert what would otherwise be the worst Holocaust to hit the human race. Oh, there's the H word. So they took the point. That means the avant-garde or the forefront in this battle. That's interesting that they used the word Holocaust there. That's a little dig by the authors, I think. Similarly, the ADL's charges against the dope busters uncanny... What is this? Oh, canny. It's the opposite of uncanny. Duh, I'm so used to not seeing that. Canny means it is totally believable, right? Not candy. Don't mean to get you hungry. Canny. Where the hell is it? They don't have the... Really? Oh, see, now I gotta find it. Define canny. Ah, there you go. So fuck you, Mac Dictionary. Let's see. So let you guys see it. Definition of canny. Characterized by cane breaks. What? Oh, man. They did me dirty. Alright, back to the text. You'll have to take my word for it. So let's start that sentence again. Similarly, the ADL's charges against the dope busters canny little credibility. Oh, carry. That's a mistype. Okay. Carries little credibility and leave the ADL completely exposed as nothing more than a protection racket for the drug cartel. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I gotta check something real quick. Let me see something here. I'm trying to find a better version. Let's see if we can find a better version of this this book. This looks okay. Yeah, I guess we could deal with this. Let's see. Alright. 100 years, 150 years of perfidy, Benjamin and Belmont, peddling, da-da-da. Oh, we're almost at the end of this chapter, actually. Let's see. New York, Baltimore, in a community where twin dope busters. Similarly, down the bottom left. Let me see if I can make it a little larger. Okay. See? We're going to win no matter what. Similarly, the ADL's charges against the dope busters carry little credibility and leave the ADL completely exposed as nothing more than a protection racket for the drug cartel. The dope busters enjoy the intense support of the communities they serve and have an unprecedented record of success. Wherever they go, the dope busters convey an unmistakable message of hope and inspiration to the community that the war on drugs can be won. Interviews with the residents of the communities served by the dope busters make clear that they believe that it is the message and nothing else that has made the Nation of Islam and the dope busters a target of the ADL attack. Time out. I gotta go back. I just remembered something. Canny is 2 N's. There you are. Having showing shrewdness and good judgment, especially in money where business matters. Hey, I'm vindicated. What's up? So, in a community where the twin plagues of drug addiction and AIDS are the most visible vestiges of slavery, the ADL has shown that despite the passage of time, its true loyalties lie with the slave masters. Vestiges are the last wisps of something remaining, a trace of something that is disappearing or no longer exists, the last vestiges of slavery in this case. And so, in it, I want to read that again because it's important. In a community where the twin plagues of drug addiction and AIDS are the most visible vestiges of slavery, the ADL has shown that despite the passage of time, its true loyalties lie with the slave masters, because they are the slave masters. Oh shit, there he is. Another Jewish gangster. So, what do you guys think? Should we... I'm kind of tired. I think I want to take it down for the night. But if you guys convince me, let's see how long this chapter is. Let's see. We got 2 pages, 4, 5 pages, 6, 7 pages, 9 pages. That's kind of long. 11, 13. Yeah, it's a little long. We'll hit it up tomorrow night, guys. Yeah, you saw that Art of War, right? Yeah, I'm always peeping out all kinds of shit, so. Tomorrow, we got to look forward to, if I get to it tomorrow, a public relations front for Meyer Lansky. Now, we've been hearing over and over this name. What's her name? Mary Lansky Boland or something? Oh, boy. Connected. So the ADL is connected with the Jewish mafia, which, incidentally, isn't it funny how all the Hollywood movies portray the mafia as, oh, forget about it, we're gonna fucking, we're gonna knock Timmy, we're gonna fucking take him out, we're gonna fucking... Meanwhile, they're just the junior partners. The senior partners are guys like this right here. The godfather of organized crime, Meyer Lansky. Don't forget Rothstein and Bugsy Siegel. And, I can't think right now, but there are a bunch of them. So, every movie just about in Hollywood is all about the Italian mafia. But you want to find out who the real mafia is, it's these guys. So the ADL is connected with this Jewish mafia, which is kind of redundant. To say Jewish mafia is saying the same thing, essentially. They're connected with all these intelligence agencies around the world. They're connected with the United States government. And they're probably shot callers for the government, as a matter of fact. And here come these black people. They're going to step on our toes. Do they know who we are? These blacks? Who the hell are they? They're going to start cleaning up their neighborhoods and step on our goddamn toes. We'll show them. So you wonder why the Nation of Islam hates Jews so much. But all you hear in the media is, oh, they're anti-Semitic. Oh, they're racist. There's this and that. Can you blame them? That's what I'm asking. Yeah, sure, they're racist. But can you blame them? That's the question. You really like what I'm doing? Thank you, Ray. I appreciate it. So, that about wraps it up for tonight. I'm tired. I'm going to be taking it down. And tomorrow night, hopefully we'll get into another chapter. Maybe we'll even skip over to Henry Ford's International Jew just to take a night off. But this is getting interesting, so I think I'm going to probably jump into this tomorrow. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. And I'll check you out the next time on Two Eel Schmeal's Real Deal Holyfield. All right, good night, guys. Take it easy.